Guys, good evening. You are welcome in the 110th episode of SOAP Geology classes organized by Society of Career Technology and Jan Vikas Mahasabha. Today we will talk about basic of physiology of digestion in English medium. Since last 70 years, we had been reading and teaching science like a history geography subject. We were not teaching students about problem solving attitude. Luckily, the new educational policy has arrived. It is expected that load of syllabus on students should decrease and a problem solving attitude should develop in the mind of students. So, taking into consideration of this feeling, I always try to inform students about the background of different facts. Well, in a 1 hour lecture, we discuss about a particular topic, but we don't describe the student that this information has arrived after 100 years of discoveries, and those discoveries should be discussed for developing problem solving attitude and the scientific temper in the students. So let us make an attempt of that. We all organizations on this planet Earth need energy, and that energy is obtained from sun. Only solar energy is the source of energy on this planet. But we cannot synthesize a bun by simply sitting in the sun. If we sit in a sunlit day, a bun double roti will not be formed in our body itself, because only the green pigment chlorophyll of the green plants have the capacity that it can convert solar energy into utilizable form of energy into potential energy of the chemical bond of carbohydrates. So there are two types of organisms, one the chlorophyll bearing green plants and the chemosynthetic bacteria, which can store energy, kinetic energy into potential energy, and some of that energy is utilized by the green plant itself, other is kept stored, and that stored food is utilized by the animals. We are consumers, we are dependent on green plants for our existence. For a small organism like an amoeba, a food present in the surrounding comes in contact with the plasma lemma. The plasma lemma surrounds it from both sides, and it is brought inside the cytoplasm in the form of a food vacuole. A lysosome fuses with it to form a phagosome, and then in that phagosome itself the digestion of food takes place. After that, the digested food is distributed all over in the cytoplasm. But for a higher organism like us, it is not possible that if we just fall asleep in the bathtub and pulses, vegetable, etc. are soaked in the bathtub and it can be utilized by our body itself. When the body size of animals increase, amount of food also increases, but that food must be broken into such smaller pieces which can be utilized by the cell. So for this, in higher animals, an alimentary canal develops in which by the mechanical process and chemical process a big sized food is broken into smaller pieces, still smaller pieces, still smaller pieces, and then it is absorbed in the surrounding blood vessels. That blood carries the digested food to every part of our body. So this is one thing, that in higher organisms we develop an alimentary canal. A very interesting experiment, very interesting happening took place. I had read a book, Basic Physiology, by D. Armour. And this book has described many true stories. For example, you know the ruminant animals, cow, buffalo, etc. They just feed, take the food in the mouth cavity. It is supplied to the stomach, rumen, omasum and abomasum. Then again it is regurgitated and brought in the mouth cavity. There it is digested slowly and slowly in the mouth cavity, and then again it goes into the stomach. So one of the scientists took a ruminant and along with food he just fed a small piece of foam. It reached into the rumen, and at the time of regurgitation it also came out. That scientist took that foam piece which had absorbed digestive juices of the stomach and squeezed it over a piece of bread. The piece of bread softened. There is a story described in that book of Basic Physiology by D. Armour. There was a pub dealer, and persons used to come in his pub in the night, take the drink till late night. In the morning, one of his son, just 10 to 12 years old, had the responsibility to collect all empty bottles and to dump it into the dustbin. As it is very obvious, very natural, that boy just saw that sometimes a small droplet of drink is left in the bottle. He just took its taste. He felt pleasure and it became his habit. One day, the person destined for cleaning the toilet had brought a bottle filled with acid, used it for cleaning the toilet seat, and half bottle he left as such. It was also white colored. That boy did not know this fact. He thought that it is also an empty bottle in which some drink has been left. He just put it in his mouth. And his mouth, buccal cavity, esophagus were burnt severely. It was very difficult to protect his life. Only one option was that doctors stitched his stomach wall with the abdomen wall and made an artificial mouth here itself, and from here the food was given to that boy in his later life. One day, one of his father's friend, a circus man, arrived. He saw this thing and carried that boy to his circus. He used to show this strange feature to the audience, to the young boys, and he used to just insert a small fish by a thread into that stomach. After some time he used to take it out, show that, well, just see, this much has been digested. A similar happening has also taken place with a soldier. In a war, a bomb exploded in just his vicinity and his thorax and upper part were burnt. There also the same theory had to be used. His stomach wall was tied with abdominal wall and an artificial mouth was made here. And he survived for a few years. So this way the things go on. In 1902, Bayliss and Starling had performed some very interesting experiment with dog. Earlier the concept was that when food reaches into the stomach, then and then only the digestive juices are secreted. But he had a doubt on this hypothesis. So he made a very beautiful operation, esophagostomy, in which the connection between esophagus and stomach was cut, and that esophagus was connected here itself. So whatever food was being given, that used to come out without going to the stomach. In the stomach, a small catheter like the cold drink pipe was inserted and a small test tube was tied. So whatever digestive juices was secreted in the stomach, it was possible to collect it in the test tube. In his experiment, he found that even when food was not reaching up to stomach, even then stomach secreted gastric juice. It means reaching of food is not the crucial factor. The message is being conveyed to the stomach by some other agency. There were two possibilities, either through the vagus nerve or through the blood vessels. In the second experiment, he cut the vagus nerve also from here and again fed it. Again the gastric juice was secreted. In the third experiment, he also cut the blood supply, then fed it, food came out. Now this time gastric juice was not secreted. What does it mean? It means that the message that just after some time food is coming, that message is carried by the blood. And this concept developed that in our body many times many informations are conveyed to different parts of the body by the help of blood supply also, and it gave birth to the science of endocrinology. In the second experiment, Bayliss and Starling made another surgery. The food was reaching up to stomach and after that it came out. Connection between stomach and small intestine was cut, and from his small intestine a catheter was connected into a test tube. Even here also the food reached into stomach, came out. It did not reach into the intestine. Still intestinal juice was secreted and came out in the test tube. So this way the science goes on. And the alimentary canal, the platform of digestion physiology, and some associated glands. They are made up of outermost epithelium, made up of ectoderm. The inner layer of alimentary canal is made up of endoderm. The mesoderm spreads at two layers. One layer just beneath the body wall called somatic mesoderm or parietal peritoneum, and the other layer just around the alimentary canal, which is called the splanchnic mesoderm or visceral peritoneum. The cavity present in between is called the coelom. Some part of the ectodermal epithelium invaginates from this side also and from this side also and make the innermost lining. So there are three parts of alimentary canal. One, foregut. This also has an ectodermal innermost lining. Then midgut, which has the endodermal lining. Then the hindgut, which is again having innermost lining of ectoderm. Similarly, interesting fact is that the students are taught about cross section of different parts of alimentary canal, their layers, and every time they just try to remember that, they just try to learn it, and it becomes a cumbersome for them. But the things are very simple. The layers are same four layers in all over alimentary canal. The outermost layer is serosa, which is derived from this splanchnic mesoderm. Then the second layer is subserosa, which is the outermost longitudinal muscles and inner circular muscles. Then the third layer is submucosa. These three layers are similar all over in alimentary canal. Only the thing is that in first half part of esophagus, this serosa layer is lacking. Only thing is that the innermost layer of mucosa is variable in stomach, intestine, esophagus, etc. In esophagus, if you cut a transverse section, it is like simple innermost epithelium. When we see in the stomach, it shows many gastric glands. If we observe duodenum and small intestine, then it shows many Brunner's gland and crypts of Lieberkühns. So only thing is that the innermost layer of mucosa made up of endoderm is variable. So every time you have not to remember, you have not to learn about the outer three layers. You have to learn only the variable fourth inner layer. And ultimately, the alimentary canal starts from mouth, it leads into buccal cavity, then pharynx. We have teeth. The space present in between our lips and teeth is called vestibule, and the space behind the teeth is called the buccal cavity. Esophagus is a long tube. It leads into stomach. Here we have digestive gland liver. Then there is small intestine and large intestine. Small intestine also has three parts. First of all, U-shaped duodenum. Second, jejunum. And third, ileum. And then large intestine has cecum, colon and rectum. Here we have vermiform appendix, which is much more functional in herbivorous animals. It is not functional in human being, but it is still present there. And sometimes an infection takes place called appendicitis. At that time, appendix has to be removed surgically. So finally, it opens outside through the anus. Now, in the next turn, we will talk about different food items, what is their structure, how they are broken into pieces by mechanical method and by chemical method by the help of enzymes. Thank you very much.